Can't pay your tax bill? Well, this is the video for you. On this one, we chat about what happens when you don't pay it and what your options are. So this is a question we get asked quite a lot, and that is, look, I've got this tax bill, life's happened, things have happened, and I just can't pay it. What's going to happen? Are HMRC going to come and knock down my door? A lot of time the answer comes down to how long is it going to be before you can pay that tax bill. So quite often people will leave it to the last minute, and they'll be doing it in January, waiting, they'll do the tax return, and then suddenly they see they've got a few £1,000s to pay, especially if you're self-employed and it's the first time you've had a good year. You can sometimes have these big payments up front called payments on account, and it can be a scary thing, and it can be hard to find that kind of cash. Before we talk about what happens if you don't pay your tax, the first thing I just want to touch on is to make sure you actually do submit your tax return. We hear this a lot from clients who come to us later down the line and said, I didn't want to submit it because I didn't want the tax man to know what my debt was, so they couldn't chase me for it. But bear in mind, the penalties for not submitting a tax return get to £1,600 really, really quickly. So it's much better for you to give it a go, try and do it yourself, get a friend, get an accountant, all these things to try and get that tax return sorted, even if you can't pay the bill right there and then, because there's nothing you can do about those penalties unless you've practically died or got they call it a reasonable excuse, but for me, it's more of an extraordinary excuse for not doing it. You won't get away with those penalties. So firstly, do that. That's instantly reducing your bill by up to £1,600, depending on how long it takes you to do it all. So do that. So life's got in the way and you're not sure then, can I pay this tax bill? You've got your tax return submitted, you know what the bill is, but you're really not sure how you're going to pay it. Well, there's a couple of options. Firstly, I'd always say to you, you should pay your tax on time. We should plan properly. Of course you should, and of course you should be able to pay it. That's just the nature of the game. People in employment don't have the opportunity to not pay their tax. It all happens at the time it gets deducted. But as business owners, things can go astray sometimes, and other cash flow pressures and things like that can put you in this position. So that out of the way, what happens then, the question I'd always ask you is, when do you think that you're going to be able to pay this tax bill? If it's in the next sort of 30 days, then I really wouldn't worry too much, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get some late payment interest applied to you. Depending on when you're watching this video, let's just call it 3%, but it's somewhere around that type of value. They'll apply that to your account, and then you'll pay your tax. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to get a strongly worded letter. If it's going to go on past that, then I'd suggest potentially contacting the Revenue's payment support team. Now, that can be done for all sorts of taxes. I mean, I'm talking specifically really about personal tax normally in this video, but it works for all your taxes. You can phone them, explain the temporary issue you've got, and then have a conversation about a payment plan. I've seen those given up to 12 months. They don't like to give them lightly, but they are there. I've seen one after the other being approved. So it really is an avenue that can go down. It's an agreed plan, you have to stick to it. It comes out in direct debit, but at least you've got a way forward. If it's more of a problem with that, like really you've got a massive debt and think your business has tanked and there's all these other things going on, then again you can have that discussion with them and see what's reasonable. You've also, if you're really struggling with debt as an overall, you have got the option of going to some charities. So Step Change is a good one, they can help you out. Just have a look online, there's plenty of them. So if it really is bad, there are other options. But if it's just a temporary cash flow issue, as I say, you could wait. The debt collection process is pretty straightforward from them. It's, strongly worded letter, a bit more strongly worded letter, phone call, a bit more debt collection, that kind of stuff. So there is a process to this. So it's nothing to super panic about initially. I know it's an annoying weight to have on, but it can be managed quite straightforward. And there is always the official way of phoning them. So I'm sure the Revenue would say to you, officially we'd want you to contact them before it's due, explain why you can't why it can't be paid, and then come with a payment plan. But ultimately, if it's going to be a little bit late, then the worst you're going to get is a strongly worded letter. So just bear that in mind. Now, if you don't pay it, we spoke about interest being about 3%, but actually on top of that, on the actual balance in payment amount that you would have had to pay, let's use personal tax here, in January, they start to apply 5% surcharge penalties as it gets older. So sort of at the 30 days, the 6-month and the 12-month period, you start to get blocks of surcharge added. So again, it does start to creep up. So just bear that in mind. So that's it. There's no magic news. I can't make it go away for you, but what I can do is let you know, at least give you the peace of mind that you're not going to lose everything just because you paid it a day late. And it really comes down to that amount of time that you're having to wait until you can pay it. So there you go. We'll make sure we've got the links and the number for the business payment support team in the description to this video if you're watching on YouTube, and we'll see you on the next one.